Hello everyone, welcome back to TouchTheFireTwice. I'm Joshua and I'm here today to do a brand introduction on Snif as well as an in-depth Snif candle review on their half-baked pumpkin smash limited fall 2024 release. But first, if you're new to TouchTheFireTwice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, and how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com. Go give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice, and please do subscribe here. But for now, let's dig into Snif and their half-baked pumpkin smash candle. Clearly, this is a post-burn review. I've already unboxed this, but what we're going to do today is a little bit of brand introduction or history on Snif, who they are, what they do, their mission, and what they create. Then we will do my traditional in-depth Snif candle reviews. We will talk about the branding and art direction of the overall experience, the product itself, as well as the candle. We'll talk about the scent story that the brand has given for the fragrance. I'll get my nose on it, tell you what I think overall. And because this is a fine fragrance that has been built with a minimum of 9 notes that they list, we will go through and do what I love to do, which is sort of learn with you and educate and dig through all of those notes to say, what are they? What do they smell like? Where do they originate from? How do they work together? To really understand, I like this, I don't like that, or what is that? I've heard of that, but don't really know exactly what that is, if it is a root or a resin or a leaf or a flower. And because this is a post-burn review, we will of course talk about the performance of the candle itself, the wick, the wax, the strength throw projection, getting that fragrance up into the air and into our noses. And with any new brand or new to me brand, I like to do a little bit of research to understand who are they, what is their mission, before I dig into the actual product itself. Now, I'd heard of Snif only briefly, and that is when 2 of my friends here in the community, Kent of the Candle Channel and Melanie of Mr. Kong's Mom, both have done reviews on Snif fragrances. A couple years back, I believe Kent did a review on their direct-to-consumer, which we'll get into in a second, try before you buy sample set. And then just recently in the past couple of months, Melanie, Mr. Kong's mom, did a review on their Crumb Couture Giant Candle, which is a gourmand croissant sort of French patisserie fragrance. And when I saw the advertisement for the half-baked pumpkin smash, I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I want to try it. So what is Snif? So Snif was founded in 2020, originally as a direct-to-consumer fragrance brand, and their mission was to make high-quality luxury fragrances more accessible. It began exclusively online, but now has branched out into being available in Ulta stores nationwide. They say they focus on non-toxic, vegan, cruelty-free, and genderless scents, built with a blend of natural and synthetic ingredients. They're known for their trial program, which allows people to try fragrances, both candle or fine fragrance perfumes, in their home before they purchase. Now, what's interesting, if you check out their website at snif.co, they have a fairly wide array of fragrances. I will say I'm quite intrigued by what they call their secret menu. Their more, let's say, traditional fragrances are on their website, and then they have this No Noses Inc. secret menu where they have scents like Crumb Couture, which is in candle and fragrance. That's the one that Melanie and Mr. Kong's mom reviewed. Then they have Slice Society and Soda Snob, so a pizza-inspired fragrance and a soda pop-inspired fragrance. And then finally, Dead Dinosaur, which is meant to evoke the smell of, love it or hate it, gasoline. Of course, I'm sure it is not a direct gasoline fragrance, maybe a little bit of vapors in there or something like that, but still interesting. Now let's get into the in-depth sniff review of the half-baked pumpkin smash candle, starting with the unboxing. So as you can see, I've unboxed this already. Really cute. It comes in this sort of milk carton inspired, direct inspired box. If you open that up, and you have a traditional candle box in here with a little ribbon, pull off lid, bit of a luxury experience there, really nice. It's a thick, heavy box, so it is very much something that can be reused for storage if you don't finish the candle after the season. And right in here, we have our 8.5 ounce single wick candle. One thing that is nice that I'd say most luxury brands do not offer is it does come with a candle lid. Now this is just plastic, so you wouldn't necessarily want to extinguish the candle with the lid, though frankly, I usually will dip my wicks these days. If you dip the wick, it avoids any smoke post-extinguishing, and also it will slightly coat the wick in wax for the next time you light it, and it gives you the opportunity to recenter the wick if it has gone at all off-center during its burn. But it is nice that they include this lid, albeit plastic. It fits, it is a good dust cover, it stays on well. The design of the ridges matches the ridges on the vessel, so it is a nice addition for a luxury candle. And the vessel here, this is their traditional 8.5 ounce candle. They offer 6 ounces, 8.5 ounces, and large 50 ounce candles. Their candles are hand-poured and a blend of soy and vegetable wax. One source online said soy and coconut wax. Not certain. Either way, there is soy mixed in with the vegetable wax here. They use 100% cotton wicks, and as you can see, a healthy dose of fragrance oils because this is starting to kind of sweat on the top of the wax, and this was not really exposed to any extreme temperatures, so this does have a good amount of fragrance oils in it. The vessel is simple yet sophisticated, kind of reminiscent of a rocks cocktail glass. You have a little bit of an amber color too there, and it has a nice heavy weighted base. The scent story from the brand is that the Half-Baked Pumpkin Smash Candle by Snif is a collaboration with Tegan Gerard, the creator of Half-Baked Harvest, a hugely popular food blog known for its elevated comfort food and seasonal recipes. Tegan brought her love for cozy fall flavors into this candle, designed to capture the warm, nostalgic feelings of autumn, much like her cooking does. The scent is more than just sweet and spicy pumpkin. It's balanced with rich, smoky notes, making it feel sophisticated and perfect for the season. It is considered to be in the gourmand spicy family, with notes of pumpkin spice, cinnamon stick, cardamom, whiskey, brûléed orange, salted maple, and roasted chocolate. Now, let's get my nose on here. I will say right from the jump, I love this fragrance. It is not overly sweet. It is authentically, though they don't say pumpkin or squash or pumpkin flesh in here, just pumpkin spice, I really truly get a roasted pumpkin flesh. I wouldn't call this particularly spicy, especially if you're thinking of other spiced pumpkin candles, certainly anything from Bath & Body Works, your pumpkin clove, your pumpkin bonfire even, your sweet cinnamon pumpkin, your heirloom pumpkin, pumpkin patch. Not nearly as spicy as that. It does have spices, but they are softer in the background and almost sort of like a charred cinnamon stick, but not smoky. They say smoky in the notes. I wouldn't call this smoky. Roasted for sure, but not a woody smoky like you may be thinking. It's not particularly outdoors either, but that roasted, pumpkin flesh that is sort of creamy and warm, a bit nutty, is really present there. When it comes to the cinnamon stick and the cardamom and pumpkin spice, again, there's some spiciness to this, but it is really a gentle spice. And when it comes to the whiskey, which we'll go into more when we dig into the notes themselves, it is more so the charred oak barrels that whiskey is aged in that is going to bring a bit of that woody, borderline smoky, charred, but warm tonka, vanilla, caramel, almost cocoa aspects. And though there's maple and roasted chocolate, don't think sweet. This is not cloying at all. For me, what this comes down to is it really is the perfect balance between the Bath & Body Works Sweet Cinnamon Pumpkin on the nose, very obviously cinnamon, very obviously clove, very obviously pumpkin spice with your allspice nutmeg ginger blend, and heaps of ooey gooey caramel. This has a bit of that, but a little bit more refined, kind of sophisticated, but it doesn't go all the way to truly conceptual, where some brands will go so conceptual that on a blind sniff, you might not identify it as an autumnal pumpkin fragrance. This carries just enough of the obvious on the nose, autumn, but goes a little bit conceptual because there is a bit of a woody, spicy, warm, not sweet aspect to this candle that I really appreciate. And so it's that perfect balance where you still want something that doesn't scream pumpkin, but it speaks pumpkin. It's more than a whisper. It's not quite a scream. It's right in the middle there where it's speaking at an inside perfect volume of what you want a pumpkin with spice, with woods, with char, with authenticity to it. It's rich, it's warm. It's really unlike any pumpkin fragrance I've ever smelled, which is what makes me excited about this because pumpkin is everywhere when it comes to fall fragrance. And this is not reductive. It's not reminiscent of any. Like I said, there's a sweetness to it, but it's a almost burnt sweetness. Think of, they mentioned brûléed orange, which we'll get into in the notes as well, but think of that bitter but sweet burnt sugar on top of, say, a creme brulee, where it is sweet, but there is just that hint of not smoke, it's not charcoal, it's not overly burnt or overly roasted or smoky, but it has that welcome bitterness to it. You get a little bit of that here. And so it's evocative of you are in, say an old wood cabin and you are making something. Maybe you're roasting pumpkin seeds in the fire and someone is making a pumpkin pie or making other food as well. There's this bit of a savory aspect to this and it's just so beautifully balanced. I find myself going back to this and you could really pull this from September all the way into the holidays because again, it's not obvious. And that's what I appreciate about it, but it still checks the box that I wanted to check. I really love it. I will say for those who are wondering, smash is sometimes the name of a cocktail, and actually Tegan created pumpkin smash recipes both for a cake and a cocktail. This is not boozy. When you hear whiskey, when you hear salted maple, things like that, it's really not boozy, but there is a little bit of that woody aspect that you get and the warming aspect you get from whiskeys, but it is not boozy in the way that you think of candles that have a liqueur note in them. A certain nuttiness to this, really, like you've got some roasted pumpkin seeds in there as well, or even maybe a bit of chestnut. And now let's talk about performance. When you get into luxury candles or really any single wick candles, it can be a little bit of an issue to get them to fully pull out. I will say majority of time, this does pull out on its own. There are times if there's a little bit of a draft or if it's just a little cooler in here than 72, where it might take a bit of time for the edges to go through. And I have used a foil topper on this to get it fully pulled out. I will say when I throw that on there, within 10 minutes, you've got a full pull and it's getting deep, so you actually want to take that off, and it generally maintains that nice, healthy, even wax pull across. And when it comes to the soy and vegetable wax blend, as well as the cotton wicks, I do believe this is appropriately wicked when it comes to the size and balance of those two things, the wicks and the wax, because you don't really see much sooting. It has a very clean burn, as you can see down the edges here. It really is a clean burn across the board. And it is a strong thrower for a 3.5 inch diameter candle. You can smell this when you have this sitting on your coffee table. You'll get whiffs of it when it is cold, unlit, if you have the dust cover lid off. And it throws very, very well. I would say almost on par with a healthy Bath & Body Works 3-wick candle, if that's what you're familiar with. You're gonna get pretty much close to that with this. And that goes for another one of their candles that I also will review coming soon, which is their half-baked apple cider smash. Also very good, very different than their pumpkin smash. I will be reviewing that one shortly as well. But really healthy performance, I'm happy with it. I would love if I didn't have to do any babying when it comes to putting the foil cover on there to really ensure that even burn, but it's minimal and worth it for the really unique fragrance and in general, healthy performance. Now let's dig into these 9 notes. So it starts with pumpkin spice. So pumpkin spice, of course, is just a blend of spices, traditionally considered to be cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, and sometimes allspice. I don't get a ton of that in here, and I'm happy that it's not overly generically spiced. I think they probably have to say pumpkin spices in here, but I do think it's a bit more nuanced in the execution of the spices. With that, they also specifically call out cinnamon stick. Not sure if it is cassia cinnamon, your sort of red hot cinnamon, or your true cinnamon, your Ceylon, which is a bit softer and powdery, almost floral. I would lean toward thinking it may be the Ceylon cinnamon, if anything. It is less strong than your cassia cinnamon, complex and fragrant with a bit of a citrus overtone. It lacks the bite of your red hot candied cinnamon, soft, but still unmistakably cinnamon. Very, very low dose of that in here. This is not a cinnamon forward candle by any means. And frankly, I would not put that in the marketing because if someone's seeking a cinnamon pumpkin candle, this would not be it. Cardamom is a really nice addition here. So of course, cardamom are seeds. They are warm, spicy, camphoraceous, almost medicinal at times. Can be similar to almost a eucalyptus. It is the main ingredient in masala chai, spiced tea. And there really are 2 different types of cardamom in fine fragrance. So you have more of an earthy, smoky black cardamom, and then the fresher, almost minty, eucalyptus style green cardamom. In this, hard to say exactly what it is. I would say this probably leans a little bit more towards the fresh, because I do think the cardamom adds a little bit of a spicy brightness to this without being overwhelmingly camphoraceous. And then they call out whiskey. I'm gonna say in this sense, because I don't really get a booze or liqueur aspect to this, that tingly burn to the nose, I'm thinking it is more so these sort of charred oakwood barrel flavors that are imparted in whiskey when it's aged that they're expressing in this candle. So they take white oak, the hardwood tree, and make barrels. They toast the inside of the barrels before putting the whiskey in there to age. And essentially toasting the wood inside of that wine barrel, or in this case whiskey barrel, releases different aromas and flavors that will be extracted in wine, or in this case whiskey. So barrel toasting caramelizes the natural sugars that are in the oak wood. And the charred wood offers a range of flavors depending on the intensity of the char. A lightly toasted oak barrel will give you flavors or fragrances like a subtle vanilla, coconut, caramel, cinnamon, or clove. A medium toasted oak barrel will give you heavier caramel, cocoa, roasted coffee, honey, and vanilla. And when it is charred to a heavy toast, you get vanilla, caramel, toast, baked apple. And so I can certainly see a smorgasbord of those flavors and fragrances in here. And so with that whiskey, I think you are getting just those sweet, warm, roasty, toasty, cozy vibes. Then we've got brûléed orange. Now, of course, an orange, the citrus fruit, is an uplifting zestiness, sweet, refreshing, but a brûléed orange adds something a bit different. So brûlé, translated literally in French, means burned, but in the culinary world, it refers to foods that have a coating or topping of caramelized sugar. Think your creme brulee. So in that sense, because there are so many natural sugars in orange, if you brûlé or just burn the top of an orange, maybe with a little bit of actual sugar on it or not, it's going to take those citrus flavors but add that sweet, rich, a little bit toasty, a little bit bitter, but not off-puttingly bitter note to it. And so I don't call out much orange specifically, but when it comes to the idea of a burnt or brûléed sweet orange, I could see there being some in the background because there is a freshness here. And I think it's probably a mixture perhaps of the cardamom, sort of that slightly green, spicy cardamom with a sweet, bitter, balanced citrus. And I think that's what makes this very, very unique, where you wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I smell orange, but it's there within the full build of the fragrance. Then we move over to salted maple. Now, do they mean maple syrup, maple cream, simply the hardwood of a maple tree? Hard to say. I don't get a maple syrup note in this, or even a maple candy in this much. If so, it really is a subdued, not cloying, not ooey gooey like you think of when it comes to your mass market Bath & Body Works blends. Certainly, it adds to that gourmand, round sweetness, kind of honey-like, vanilla, creamy, almost kind of like a brown sugar, borderline sheer musk aspect to it, is what I'm thinking we're getting from the maple. And then finally, roasted chocolate. Does not smell like your Easter candy or Valentine's candy or a fresh bar of chocolate itself, but a roasted chocolate could be full-on roasted cacao beans, but I think it's probably a bit sweeter than that. Now, if it is truly just cocoa itself, that's a unique combination of bitter, spicy, velvety, or in fine fragrance, they will often add pyrazines, which is a synthetic material, and it's found in roasted products like cocoa, coffee, and nuts, and it contributes to that flavor of chocolate. Many pyrazines have a nut-like aroma, and for me, that's really where I think this leans. That roasted chocolate, it brings sort of that bitter, velvety cocoa, but a nuttiness. They don't call out pumpkin seeds, they don't have hazelnuts, they don't have chestnuts, any of those listed in those top 9 notes, but there certainly is a warm, roasted nuttiness to this candle. And so I think it's probably a combination of all of those things. And so those are the notes given here. End of day, I think it is super unique, worth the splurge. They often sell out, so you have to check their website. They kind of do a drop, it sells out, they try to bring it back. It is obviously seasonal and not available year round, though my understanding is this has been out for a couple of years in a row and is considered a fan favorite for Snif. I really enjoy it. I will burn through it well into November, and I'm going to continue to explore Snif because the actual fragrance build itself is really unique, enjoyable. The aesthetics are pleasing, and importantly, the performance of the candle itself is quite good. So let me know what you think about Snif, about this candle. Stay tuned for the half-baked apple cider smash coming soon. Let me know if you have any questions, and until next time, take care.